Hey folks, my name is Jake, host and producer of GameSpot's podcast. This clip you're about to watch comes directly from this week's episode, so if you want to hear the full thing, just search GameSpot After Dark on the podcast service of your choice. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, because all that really helps us out. Anyway, let's get to it. But anyway, Jean-Luc, Outriders, how is it?
Oh boy, Outriders. Yeah, so that is technically out as of the recording of this.
Technically podcast. Out. My favorite kind of out.
Never mind. I admittedly haven't got too deep in past what was available in the demo because I actually restarted because the character I originally played was a Technomancer, which is like a long range class, and oh boy, trying to play that game single player long range is a bad idea because a bunch of the enemies just like rush you. And
so I did that class too, and I'm regretting it. I'm gonna re-roll.
I re-rolled to the Pyromancer, and I'm having a lot more fun. They're more mid-ranged. Their whole thing is you basically like want to get fire damage on enemies, and then as you shoot or kill those enemies that have fire damage, it gives you health back. Nice. So that's actually pretty cool. It's like this fun little back and forth loop, but there's just something about that game that is just it's not clicking in the way I feel like it should, in pretty much every aspect.
I was gonna say, are you talking story, are you talking gameplay? Because
I'm talking everything. So I guess story, so like I recently replayed a little bit of Bulletstorm, which is a previous People Can Fly game, and I love Bulletstorm because Bulletstorm like just does not give a single and it's like its story is complete nonsense. It knows it's nonsense. It's not trying to be anything serious. It's just trying to say like the most absurd thing possible just to like get a chuckle out of you. And I respect it about that because it's it's not like brilliant writing, but at the very least it feels like they're just having fun with it. This game is like trying to be serious with its like tone, but then also the characters will like have these like pithy one-liners thrown in, so like neither of it really works, and none of the jokes land. I think because of like the pacing of the cutscenes is awkward. Like there's all these awkward pauses between characters as they're supposed to be like delivering these jokes, and they all fall extremely flat for me. I was like, man, none of this is like hitting the way it should. So I like the premise of like the world, but like just nothing about the execution is like really selling me on it.
I played the demo up until the kind of bit that it lets you go loose, and the bit in the story that got me is like, obviously it's like an end of the world thing. You're an outrider searching for a new planet, and you're with a guy, Tanner, who's dressed like the guy from Fallout 4 who tells you that settlements are in trouble.
Yeah.
And he is like, tells you that, oh, you know, kid, it doesn't matter. You let me die. You don't owe me anything. I got you the seat on the flight out, and I got the other one for my daughter who's pregnant. And I was like, he's gonna die. And then he dies in like the next 5 minutes. And this is the first opening 10 minutes of the game, and it just felt...
Yeah.
And it's like, you can do the B-movie sci-fi plot, but if you're gonna take it that seriously, it has to be good. Like if you're in on it, like Bulletstorm was, you know, you can kind of get away with it a bit more. But the writing for me is like, there is cool things in it that I like the woman who you're with early on in the game, and then like is the lead later on.
And she's all like disheveled, and like she was like happy-go-lucky, and now she's just like this cold-hearted, you know, because of the 30 years you've been asleep. Like I agree. Like I like that the beats they're trying to do, but then just like nothing about the individual scenes seem to like work.
I opened up the inventory and I saw the Destiny like, and I just let out a sigh because it just
well, what's really weird is, at least so far, it's the most like unlive service game I've played, and that like everything about its structure is extremely single player. You're just going through these levels, you occasionally do a side mission, and then you just keep going and you're picking up loot. Even the story is like, you know, it's like you're the last Outrider, and there's like no like story conceit for why I'd be playing with other people the way like Destiny kind of like tries to seed all that stuff in. So it's like, why is this game a live service game? It's very bizarre.
Is it a live service game, or is it just it has the trappings of a live service game?
Well, so every time you beat a mission, they're like, oh, you can replay this mission to get more loot, and you'll get different rewards, or you can roll back and do this. And there's like, granted, I'm very early, so like I'm curious like what other stuff kind of pops in later game, but it seems to be wanting you to like, hey, you can redo these and you can roll for different loot. It's got this thing called world tier, which is actually kind of interesting.
Oh, world tier is cool.
Yeah, world tier is cool, where basically it's like you pick your tier, and your tier is your difficulty, and that's also associated with how much like loot drops you get for like legendary drops, and at any point, even in the mid mission, you can adjust the world tier, which I think is pretty cool. So like playing the game solo, it's actually pretty tough if you try and like follow at the current highest world tier. So occasionally I've had to like, oh, I need to like bring it down a little bit, because this is clearly meant for multiplayer. But it like just lets you do that, and I think that's an interesting idea.
You know what other game does that?
What?
Avengers.
Oh, does
Except not very well.
How does Avengers do it? I don't even remember. I beat that game.
You can like there's like difficulties that you can change before you go into a mission, but like 99% of the time, each time you finish it, you'll get some garbage that you don't care about. So it's almost never worth it. I was like, oh, I'm just not gonna do this.
Yeah, see, I like that at least Outriders lets you do it like whenever you want, so you can just like lower it and not worry about it.
I don't know. I guess like it still feels like a first or a single player third person shooter with RPG trappings as opposed to a live service game for me currently. Like I wonder, I'm starting to rethink what is the line that you cross when it to become a live service game, and it doesn't seem like they're doing anything like regular events, or you need to I don't know what it is. Maybe like I don't think I've played enough, but maybe it is part of like that keep grinding because there's 1 trillion weapons in hand. You need to get the best ones before the raid. Like no one's talking about raids for Outriders, are they? No one's talking about like that kind of dungeons or stuff like that. It's just like you play it and then you're done.
I agree, which makes it weirder that like they do seem to be somewhat pitching it as like a live service game, or like that it has this replayability, because I'm with you where it's like, oh, I'll beat the story and then I'm probably good. You know, I don't really see a reason to like keep going.
It's such a weird thing because I bet you the idea of a live service game is what is likely to get, it's more likely to get a game greenlit and supported monetarily from a publisher side. But I bet you if they market it as like, this is not a live, they haven't made it clear that this is not really a live service game. And every time I tell someone that, they're like, oh, I'm kind of interested in that now then. If it's just like a co-op shooter that I can be done with like years or something like that with some RPG trappings, I'm into it.
Yeah.
But they're just not making a big deal out of the fact that it's not a game that you have to dedicate your rest of your life
to. It's way more like a Borderlands in that sense. Yeah. It's really like what it should be more pitched as, because I would say that's the more comparable comparison. I want to see how I feel about it like playing co-op, because I also don't find the combat like the best, partly because like, so it's like a third person shooter, but the game very much doesn't want you to stay in cover. Like they want you to be running around and using the powers, but on the difficulty, like me playing, like even when I'm like bring it down to like I guess normal difficulty, it's pretty demanding. Like they're throwing so much at you where it's like, okay, either you have like a bunch of dudes rushing you constantly and you're like, okay, I need to like be like constantly zipping around, or you have like guys with snipers like shooting you like with pinpoint accuracy from like hundreds of yards away. So I'm like, am I supposed to be like bunkering down in cover and playing it like very strategically, or am I supposed to be like constantly, you know, rolling around? Like I haven't found like a good flow of like gameplay where I feel like I'm like I'm in tune with the game and like what the game wants me, how the game wants me to play it. Like and I'm still super early. There's a whole skill tree of powers that I haven't unlocked, and the powers are the most interesting part. So I'm hoping it eventually clicks. But right now I'm just like, yeah, this isn't like the best combat. It's just kind of okay. And like I said, the story's got some interesting ideas, but I don't know. Nothing. It's not doing one particular thing good enough for me to feel like really invested in it.
From everything you guys have said so far, it sounds like almost every aspect, it's just like everything is in competition with each other. Like it wants to be a cover shooter, but it's telling you it's kind of not. It wants to tell a serious story, but also there's weird jokes. It wants to be a live service game, but it's kind of not that. It's more of just like a multiplayer RPG. Like it just seems like there were very there just wasn't a super clear direction. But like I probably won't actually I might play it because it's free on Game Pass. But like if that wasn't a thing, I probably would have skipped this entirely.
I mean, that's the thing though, it's Game Pass, it's cross play as well, so
it is cross play, but communication still is something that you got to consider.
Discord.
That's what I was thinking.
Xbox own Discord. If that happens.
I feel like I need to channel the energy of our recently departed, he's not dead, still alive, reviews editor to say that as interim reviews editor, I feel like it's necessary to say like this is everything we've said is based on early impressions, few hours of the game, and obviously you're individual to each person. Having said that, we got our hands on the game at the same time it went live. We do have a review in the works, so keep an eye out on the site. We probably will be taking a little bit of time to finalize the review, but there might be something written and in terms of video up before that, to kind of like early review impressions. But yeah, where all of this is basically early days, early hours of the game, and subject to change or subject not to change. So yeah, that's our initial thoughts on it. That's that on that.
And the game always makes you be online. And if my internet dropped out for half a second, booted me out of the game.
Damn.
It did that. It wanted me when I started playing it on Xbox to get like the beta done. It was like, you need to sign into a Square Enix account. I was like, no. I mean, well, you're not playing this game then.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.